Got it.
All right, we're back. This is episode 17, the Barbells and Banter podcast. Me and Jared back kicking it. So we missed 2 weeks. So we said we're going to do this every week, but we had a busy couple weeks. So I guess just to like fill you guys in, the weekend after the last podcast, I was in Vancouver with Morgan. He competed at the Pro Show. So that was pretty cool. He placed fifth, which was awesome. It was a competitive lineup. He beat some guys that beat him in Toronto, which is great. He brought a much better look. I think he was 8 or 9 pounds heavier than he was in Toronto, which was how many weeks were in between those shows? 5,
Yeah, 4 or 5. Yeah.
4 or 5 weeks. Um, so yeah, no, it was a good weekend, and they did it a little weird. That was my first show that I've gone to. That was a 2-day show, so that was kind of interesting.
They kind of didn't they do like men's open first in all of the amateur show?
Yes. So how it worked is like it was pretty much amateur Saturday, pro
Yeah.
Sunday, but they did the pro prejudging for open bodybuilding in between the prejudging and finals on Saturday. So it's kind of like a little like show for the people who went to the
Yeah.
amateur.
Get people in the seats, right?
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And
If you
that
look
that was
at
the big thing. I could not believe like they were milking people for money at that show.
dude, I was gonna buy a live stream, like it
Yeah,
was 69.99 for Saturday. So I would get to see the amateur show and I get to see Morgan. But then
yeah.
I went to watch Dylan Bursey do Classic, which was the next day. And that was also 79.99. Two separate live streams. Like a UFC fight is less than that.
Oh, it's
Like
crazy, dude. I couldn't believe it. And it was the same thing for the for like the tickets. Like the tickets, like so for prejudging, it was like $100. So I went up and I was like, oh, like how much tickets? And they're like $100. And I was like, okay, cool. Like assuming that was for the morning and the night show.
Yeah.
No, it was separate tickets. So like for like a coach who
Yeah.
would have had people in the amateur show and people in the pro show the next day would have had to spend $100 on prejudging, $100 on finals, $200 for backstage pass on both.
200 bucks.
200 bucks. Yes, dude.
Oh my God.
Crazy. It was crazy. But like, yeah.
So
And
what was the numbers like for the amateur show? Like as much as Toronto, like the same amount of people?
no, it was definitely a smaller show.
Maybe that's why they're like, we need to make up the money elsewhere. So they just
Yeah,
fucking carp the
probably.
the viewers for
Yeah, I mean, from what I've heard from like other people who have competed, like not a lot of people like enjoy going to that show. Like it wasn't a bad show by any means. Like it was well put off, but it's just like I feel like it's such a trek to go all the way to the west coast of Canada. Like it's a long flight, a 2-day show, so it's kind of like all pretty dragged out. Um, but yeah, I mean that was my first time in BC, like on the west coast, and man, it was beautiful.
Oh yeah. I would think too, even just like the cost of getting there and the cost of like getting Airbnb stuff is a little bit more pricey there compared to other places.
100%, super expensive there. Like we stayed at like it was a decent Airbnb, but it wasn't like a nice area by any means. And like me and Morgan were walking around in the morning. I was just curious. Like we passed by this house,
Yeah.
was not a nice house at all. Like back home in Newfoundland,
Yeah.
that house probably would have cost like maybe $300,000.
Yeah.
It was 1.4 million, dude. I was like,
Oh hell.
there is no way, dude. How do people afford this?
Yeah, just like a regular house.
Yeah, and this was in. Now I might be mispronouncing this, but I think it was Coquitlam, and that was where like West Coast Iron was. So like we stayed at an Airbnb for because we got there on Tuesday, and so we stayed at an Airbnb for that week until um Friday, and then we drove out to Abbotsford, which
Okay.
the hotel was, which was about an hour away.
It was the hotel costs crazy or
Hotel wasn't too bad. It was just like I think it was a Western Inn.
okay.
Um, but Abbotsford was even further again from like downtown Vancouver.
Well,
So it was like a small town vibes. It was cool, man. Like you just driving around, you just see like big ass mountains with like snow on top of
yeah,
it, like crazy,
definitely
crazy.
want to visit there. I have a client doing a show there in October, the Van City Pro Am or the
Yeah,
Van City Amateur Show.
they
And
have
I
a
was
lot
thinking,
of shows. They randomly have a lot of shows there.
and there was one before Vancouver Pro.
Yeah,
So there's at least 3 or 4 shows there.
yeah. Cool.
Yeah, so I was thinking about going to that. So he's getting an Airbnb, so we were just going out together and be
Yeah.
cool. I'd love to visit BC. It's so nice there.
Even just when is the show?
October.
Okay. Yeah. And
But
even
we're going to Toronto in November though, so it's gonna be kind of tight.
yeah, yeah, that's the thing too. Like that's one thing I found. So like went to Vancouver. So we were there until when did I come back? Was there Tuesday to Monday, I think. And so I got home like late Monday night, like pretty much Tuesday. It was like 2 a.m. And then flew back home to Newfoundland on Thursday. So I was home for like a split second
Yeah.
and then had to fly back to Newfoundland. It was just like so much time on a plane, man. Like,
Bouncing in and out of time zones, like yeah,
dude, I was fucked up for a while.
yeah,
Just like from all the time change, like wasn't
yeah.
sleeping well, didn't have much of an appetite. Like it's just like, I just don't like being out of my routine like that, and
Mm.
especially for that long. So that was kind of annoying, but getting back into it now, we had I guess we can talk about the Newfoundland show now.
Yeah, sure.
That
So
was
that
that
was
was pretty cool.
last
So
weekend. Yeah,
what's that?
last weekend.
Yeah, it was last weekend.
Yeah,
So I went home for that, obviously.
yeah.
I had uh I had three clients doing that show. And Jared had just Spencer
Just
doing it.
yeah, just one. Yeah,
I mean it was pretty cool. It was good to be home for a little bit. Like I enjoyed seeing my friends and I enjoyed being there for my client shows because it was all of them, it was their first show. So I think the biggest thing was like I wanted to make sure that they had like a good first experience, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
absolutely.
Um, so because like I know my first experience, like we did that exact same show. Like Carly, what's up, Carly? Um, we did our very first show there in 2019. It
Yeah,
was like the same venue, like Holy Heart Theater. So it was pretty cool to like be back there and like both of us were like coaching our own clients uh,
yeah.
on the same stage, like literally pretty much to the day.
Literally, yeah. It was literally because I didn't turn 19. I couldn't even go downtown because I didn't turn 19 until that Monday. So it was the same weekend.
That's so funny. Yeah, because I think I just turned 19 like a couple months before that show.
Yeah,
Or or no, I'm a year older than you, so I would have been
yeah.
20, I guess.
You would turn 28.
And and I remember I wanted to go out after the show,
Yeah,
but I couldn't. Luke was like, "Man, you need to go home, bro,"
yeah.
because like I had eaten so much food, dude. It was so bad, and I literally,
Eight,
you remember, dude,
right.
I literally had
Yeah.
like a food baby. Like it was like veiny and it looked like I was pregnant, dude. I literally just went home and I was just lying in the bathtub in pain.
Yeah, we
That's
ate a lot after that show. Like we definitely went a lot more just ape shit with food that show than I did my second one. I think it's just a learning process too.
totally,
Like
totally.
you realize like it's enjoyable for the first like 5,000 calories. And then once you start like getting to a point where you're getting sick, it's like, okay, this is not really fun anymore.
Well, dude,
And
go
we're
ahead.
also bigger now, so our peaks require so much food. Like I
That's
was
what I was gonna say,
six
man.
months deep by the night, and I was like, I don't even want to eat right now. And
Yeah,
Mike was saying the same thing. Like Mike Porter, he was telling me like he tried to eat a piece of pizza backstage and he threw it out. He was like, man, I don't even want this. Like,
yeah, I know, man. I know. But yeah, it's funny because like I was gonna make a post about this because like it's like competition season and like my very first show in 3 weeks I gained 30 pounds and I was literally like a water buffalo, like, dude. Like I was so puffy and like after shows anyways, like I've noticed like even after my last show, like I hold a lot of water. Like my ankles get swollen, like I don't know what it is.
it's a
Um
sodium in, like water follows sodium, right? So all that sodium, you just get the water coming in and you're hydrated and
yeah.
it's a mess.
But it's like I didn't even eat like a lot of like shit food after my last show. And like even carving up like the day of the show, like in between the morning and the night show, like I had a burger and some fries. That was literally it, dude. The rest of it was literally just like rice, muffins, and like peanut butter and chicken. Like it was pretty clean, right? Um, but yeah, no, the first show was a mess afterwards. I remember being so puffy, dude. It was
Dude,
so
I competed at 163 and when I got the next morning, I was 181. I had abs for like 30 minutes.
yeah, 30 minutes, yeah.
It disappeared.
Yeah,
It
and
was
I
awful.
remember, dude, even the next day, like so, like I, I like after I was done competing, did the men's physique. I put on my hoodie and just stuffed my front pouch with
Oh,
like
man.
cookies,
Yeah.
candy, like, whatever I could fit in there, and just sat in the audience and just started mucking food. And like
I
it
got
wasn't like I had like a bad, like an excruciating prep. Like I decided like at like 9 weeks out that I was gonna do the show. And
Yeah.
like I didn't have to diet super hard. Like I was already pretty lean. And I was just like, I think it was just the fact that I couldn't eat it for a while. And then it was just, it was a more of a mental thing. Like, okay, I can do this now. I'm going to do it. But I woke up the next day, like got a full Ziploc bag of Reese's Puffs and I went to the gym with me, dude. And I was just eating them throughout my workout. Like it was
Yeah,
crazy.
it's funny you mentioned that because like me and Carly were also talking about that. She's 15 weeks out today. So like we were talking about how like most people start prep at 20 weeks out. But prior to 20 weeks out, the opportunity to eat shit food is there. But you're eating so many calories, you don't even want it. Like I'm eating 6 meals. If I eat an off-plan meal, the rest of my evening is screwed because I can't get extra meals in.
Exactly.
Funny, like as soon as you hit that 20-week out mark, you're like, I kind of want something now. It's just because you can't have it, right?
Exactly. 100%, dude. 100%. And like
Oh, here,
time,
right?
the only
It's
time
all
I take cheat meals now is when like I'm like behind on meals and it's training day.
exactly. Yeah.
If it's late at night and like I still got 2 meals to go and I'm like I'm probably not going to finish these 2 meals, I'll go get like a big meal, like go to A&W because the A&W right by my house is open 24 hours and it's clutch.
Yeah.
Um,
I've eaten a lot of sushi lately, man.
dude, I haven't had sushi in so long. I meant to get some when I went home. Last time I had sushi was like before I left with you.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, like I've been doing not much, like only 3 rolls, 18 pieces,
Yeah.
but like I'm stuffed. Like if you pair that with 4 to 5 meals and that's your last meal, like it's
Oh,
hard to get that
absolutely,
down.
dude.
The first 6 go down like butter, and then it's like shit, this is getting tough now.
Yeah. I find like regardless, like I really try to get as many meals in earlier in the day because obviously as the day goes on, they get harder to eat, dude. By my like last 2 meals, dude, I'm sitting there like sweating getting them down.
Oh, especially it's hot here finally. It's been like 30, 35. It's raining today, but like I'm gonna buy an AC unit because it's like so hot and the fan's
Got you,
just
bro.
hot here. And like you're
And like
sweating trying to eat your meal.
I have the AC cranked here all the time, and Paige hates it. But like,
Yeah.
I just like I'll stand up and walk 2 feet, and I start sweating.
Oh, it's
Like, you
brutal.
know what I mean? So I would not be able to eat my meals. Like, I know when I was home for the show, my house was so hot, dude, and my house gets super hot anyways because there's like a lot of windows and the sun
Yeah.
shines in, and then it's just like a sauna in there. But I was sitting down, I was like, it was making me sick just eating my meals.
It's hard, you don't, and you don't want to eat, right?
Oh, it kills your appetite.
Like normal people who don't do what we do, when it gets hot, they don't want to cook, they would just order takeout. Right.
Exactly.
It's like,
Yeah,
except we
yeah.
can't do that, and we have the like air fry food, which has produced more heat. Turn on the
Sweating
stove,
over the stove.
more heat, right? I've been
Yeah,
barbecuing a lot lately, but I like to like bulk prep on the barbecue. I'm not just going to cook a meal, but it's been
yeah,
clutch
yeah.
for avoiding like more heat in the house.
Oh, absolutely, dude. Absolutely. I'm waiting for that. Like things are slowly starting to like come along with our condo.
Yeah,
Like they opened the gym like probably 2 months ago. They just opened the pool, which will be nice.
clutch.
And like we're not allowed barbecues on out on our patios, but they have
Yeah.
like common areas. So like you go down to like the fifth floor and there's like tables and barbecues and stuff, but they haven't
Oh,
put
so
the
they have
barbecues out there.
they provide them for you guys?
So, yeah, they'll provide barbecues, which is
That's
pretty
cool.
cool. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, man, the heat just kills my appetite. Absolutely. So what was it like for you, like prepping a client back home?
Yeah, so that was my
What was your first
first
prep client?
first prep client. Yeah, so it's not as stressful as I would imagine, like with Spencer, he gets in shape quick.
Yeah.
So I knew that wasn't something we'd have to worry about. He doesn't hold any water. So it's like it's pretty smooth sailing. We just made sure we were in shape early. And then we kind of fed pretty hard for the last 3 to 4 weeks. Everything was kicking in. He was lean. So I was like, okay, let's just eat now and kind of hold this look. So it was
Yeah.
pretty good, man. He looked good. He was full, lean. He was happy with the outcome. I was happy with the outcome. He got third in novice and I think fifth in his class, which is not bad.
No,
There's
it's
a lot
good.
of first time competitors there. Mike got
100%.
right in the
Yeah.
novice. Yeah, and Kyle got
Yeah.
first. Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I think there was 18 out of like 30 competitors in that show were first timers, which is
Yeah.
wild. Um,
It's good to
but
see though. We need that here, right? We need that influx of new bodies just to because then those guys also get their friends involved and it just kind of just keeps coming in, right?
that's how it builds. But like, there definitely needs to be more like I feel like bodybuilding is like kind of like not that it's dying off, but like back before I got into bodybuilding, there was so much more. It seemed like there's a lot more hype around it.
Sure.
Back when it was like, what was it? What was the association they had before the CPA? It
It was
was like
just like it was NL something. It was like our
NL
own.
Bodybuilding Association, NLBBA, something like that. But that seemed like it was a lot more like they'd have a like bodies doing those shows.
Especially like men's open. Like
Yeah,
I watched a video a while ago of like some clips, and there was like 9, 8 to 9, 10 guys in the lineup
yeah,
for just open, right? So that's I feel like it's a transition now. Like there's less open guys here, but Classic is kind of filling that void. I'd say
yeah,
out of the competition in the men, I would say Classic made over like 2/3 of the competitors
definitely,
alone, right?
definitely, 100%. Um, yeah, but like the prep for my clients, like I wouldn't say it was smooth for any of my guys. Like it wasn't like super stressful. But like for example, like Mitch, he had like a mouth infection at 10 weeks out, and like could not eat anything for an entire week. I think he had like a couple spoonfuls of Greek yogurt, and he just couldn't eat anything. It was so painful, and so he dropped like 10 pounds just that week.
Yeah.
So it was hard like getting him kind of back from that.
And
Um,
not ideal for a natural guy either to be just not
Not
eating.
at all, especially when like your calories are low, and like we had to push him pretty hard
Yeah.
because he lost almost like 50 pounds in prep. He had a
Yeah.
lot more body fat on than I had thought he did.
Like
Uh,
everybody thinks, right? Like
oh,
you go
it's
into it thinking I'm going to be, lose 30 pounds, but like you even think about guys at the top, like Morgan still loses 45 to 50 pounds of prep. Like where does it
yeah,
come from, right?
yeah,
It
I
comes from
know.
like
When you
it
get
just
like peeled.
yeah, all the visceral fat goes. Like there's a lot of fat in around your organs you don't know about, right?
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. Um, and like I don't know if anyone knew this, but Mike like had like a minor pec tear at like 4 or 5
Yeah, he was telling me, yeah, about the other day.
and so he just couldn't train chest for a while. So I was like, it was like finally good at
Yeah.
like peak week. So like we didn't do any chest at all until like basically his last workout, and just like got a little bit did a few flies, some light pressing, got some blood into his chest, and I was just like, your chest just has to be good, so you do push-ups backstage. That's all
That's
that
it.
matters,
You just need
right?
blood in there. That's it.
And like it was like night and day when he finally was able to like get a little bit of blood in his chest. Because like when I first saw him, his chest was just like so flat, like there was nothing there. So there was that. And then my guy Curtis, he had like a bunch of like stomach issues. So that was kind of like a hurdle that was we were constantly having to kind of overcome. Um, but I mean, it's good, man. Like every challenge that like kind of gets thrown at you, it's just like a learning curve. You know what I mean?
Just something to put in your backpack, just another tool to your disposal. And if you come to that situation again, you have a solution for it. Just like you're
Exactly.
leveling up.
That's what I found too. Like my last prep, I remember like, and I've never had any like digestive issues or anything like that. But I think what it was so last prep, I literally didn't shit for probably like a week and a half.
Remember that? Yeah.
It was, and I was in pain, dude. Like we were like, I didn't have to take like a suppository or anything like that after. Um, but basically, I think what it was is I bought like this mixed bag of vegetables at Walmart, like frozen veggies, and it just had like a bunch of random shit in there. And obviously, like it was something that I hadn't eaten before, and it just didn't sit well with me. And I don't know what is there's like an enzyme or something in certain vegetables that like messes up your digestion. I know it's in like a certain kind of pepper, um,
I'm not
onions, I
sure.
think. Anyways, I can't remember what it was. But I just remember doing research about it at the time. And then it was just like, when stuff like that happens, like I know our first thing was like, okay, we're gonna increase my fiber intake.
Yeah.
And so we increased my fiber intake, but I didn't drink enough water. So it just
Right.
made it worse, dude.
Yeah. GI was dry. Like no. And like that's gonna happen too when you reduce carbs because they're carbohydrates, right? They're hydrated. So
Yeah,
when you reduce your carbs and you eat that high protein diet, that stool is gonna get really hard and
really
it's just
tough.
gonna sit there and build, right? It's not
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah. I mean that I'm like used to that happening. I'm used to like, not shitting like very often, like maybe every like couple days. But that was like 2 weeks out. I think I was like 3 weeks out when this happened. And it was a horrible experience. But like now I know like kind of if that happens, I know kind of like how to handle situations like that. Which has been good. But yeah, no, I mean I was happy with all the boys. And like kind of how they look for the show. Especially like two of my guys were natural guys, their first show. Obviously like competing in an open show, so that was
all
cool. And then I had Colin who competed yesterday.
He looked
Um,
good. He looked good.
yeah, man, I was really happy with how Colin looked, I gotta say. And Colin had like a pretty like easy breezy prep. He was weird. It was like I pushed him hard, kind of like right out of the gate. Like it was like, because my worry was it was he didn't have any appetite. Like we started prep at like 18 weeks out, and come like 14 weeks out, he just wasn't hungry at all. So I was like, okay, his metabolism is going to be an issue the
Yeah.
further we get into this. So we pushed him hard for like 3 4 weeks. And then it was just literally like smooth sailing. I increased his food for like 4 weeks after that.
Yeah.
And he was just like still dropping weight. So that was good. And I was really happy with his conditioning. But dude, I cannot believe one, the amount of competitors, and
Yeah.
two, the quality of competitors at this natural
Was
show.
in Barry, right?
It was very natural. And someone told me there was close to like 200 competitors. There
That's
was
crazy. Natural show, man.
how many I'm thinking of how many classic classes there was. I think there was 4 or 5 classic classes, but there was like
It's
12 people in each class.
crazy.
That's classic. Obviously there was a ton of men's physique, a ton
Uh,
of bikini girls. There was a couple bodybuilders, but mostly it was, classic men's physique, bikini. Um, and man, some of the guys looked crazy. Like they could go to like an open show and win. Like it was wild.
I seen Julian made that story about the whole
Yeah,
natural
so
thing.
that's the
That
other
was
thing.
like kind of regarding that weekend, I guess.
It was regarding that weekend and a competitor that was competing in that show.
Wow.
So obviously, like, won't name names or anything. But there is like bikini competitor who has openly taken PEDs
Yeah.
and has competed in open shows within the past like 3 or 4 months.
That's
And
crazy.
like
Oh my God. Hilarious.
and now she has stopped taking them
Yeah,
and can somehow do natural shows. I don't
that's
know how
crazy.
that works, dude. That's like if me and you just stop taking shit.
Just polar drugs at 2 weeks out. Hop on.
Yeah, yeah, let's hop on in, man. So I don't know if there's a cutoff for that kind of shit, or what, but I know there's been like a lot of drama around it,
Yeah.
especially like up here because
Yeah,
we
it's
can
bigger playing field, right? But it's hard, so hard to gauge because, or even so hard to nail somebody for that because, like, if
you're
you're doing a
never
pee urine test, if they're taking Anavar or Clan, that's gone in like 4 to 5 days.
exactly,
So no
exactly.
way to know, right? Like,
Yeah, and I think like it comes down to like an integrity thing, like a moral
yeah,
thing.
of course, yeah, of course,
Um, so it's yeah, I mean, and it's tough because like imagine if you had, you had a good competitor that was in that show, that was in the running to go to have the overall. And now keep in mind too, she's now going to natural nationals, Canadian nationals, which
yeah,
is this weekend coming, and she'll probably get her pro card there. And so she's going to take a pro card from another competitor who, is actually natural and, deserves to be there, right? So I just think it's like, it's kind of like a cheap, you know?
yeah. It's just like morally, I would be able to do that, and just like, how does that benefit you anyway? I'm not sure how the pro cards carry over, but like, is that pro card specifically for natural competitions, or can she take that pro card and compete in like IFBB shows?
I think you can compete in IFBB. You can switch
Yeah.
up.
If that's the case, it's pretty cheap then, right? Like,
Yeah, exactly. Right. So she's just like trying to get to the pro leagues as fast as possible.
yeah,
But again, like, so she competed in an open show. She competed in open nationals at the Toronto amateur show
yeah.
and did well there. And I think if you just take a little more time off to grow like everyone else does, you
Like,
know,
why even bother? You know?
yeah, it's just like why are you like everyone's got to pay their dues. Like
Yeah,
it's just a bad look for you and bad look for your coach, and it's just like
yeah,
it's also not a good look on the CPA, right?
absolutely. I don't know.
Because I mean, she's like well known, and I'm sure rumors go around. Like everyone I know has kind of talked about it.
Yeah, I've
Um,
heard a bunch of it, and you know that the people she competed against are gonna be pretty bitter about that, right?
Absolutely,
Probably
absolutely.
not going to maybe not compete at that show anymore because they know it's not an even playing field.
Well, that's the thing, right? It's like, you got to put some things in place and like obviously there's testing, but like, that's not going to come up in testing. So there has to be like, I don't know what, I have no idea what else they could do to kind of like mitigate that.
Because like there's no argument because if they say, well, she competed at open shows prior, then she could say, well, I was natural at those.
Exactly.
It's like so hard to, yeah, it just comes down to like a personal integrity and not doing that, and like you said, it's not good for her, it's not good for her coach. Like people are going to not want to do business with her or sign her if she's doing this stuff. Like it's just not a
Exactly.
good thing.
Yeah, it's just yeah, it's terrible call. Terrible
Especially if
call.
you're open about it. If you're open about taking PEDs, then like,
Well, like she's talked to people that I'm good friends with, like
yeah,
about using PEDs, and not just like fat burners, but like PEDs,
anabolics. Yeah,
anabolics. Yeah, used to grow. So it's not like you can't really get around that, but it's like there's no proof,
yeah.
right?
It's
So what do you do, right? Which is tough because I know my buddy Colin, his girlfriend is competing in the pro qualifier this weekend coming. And for the past couple of years, she's been like so close. She's like right there.
yeah.
And she's made so many improvements over the last year. And like they're just gonna be gutted, all be gutted for her
Oh,
if
it's
like
brutal.
right. So it's frustrating, but what do you do, right?
Yeah, stuff. It'd be like you were junior, like you moved on to high school. You're grade 12, and you went back to junior high sports and just demolished everybody.
Literally,
Thing,
dude.
right? It's like they don't belong here. Like it's a
Yeah.
different playing field, right? You're
Yeah,
different.
it is completely different, completely different. And I think like two, it's like one, like for example, like me and you switching over, it's like one that even if we had only been on done like one cycle, I think it like completely changes one your like muscle like maturity and like how it looks.
Yeah.
And like also like you're gonna hold on it that muscle just doesn't disappear,
No, no.
right? So it's still going to be there, and like you've obviously made like how long it takes a natural guy to gain 20 or 30 pounds is God knows how long.
You look at like first cycle, man, like 50 pounds in 20 weeks, like no trouble at all, right?
Yeah,
But
which would take
natural guy forever to do that.
20 years probably.
Yeah.
Like
Well, like you look at natural guys, they peak around 30, 35.
yeah,
Takes that long to naturally build quality tissue. Whereas like the guy we were talking about who just competed, 21 years old, like looking at top five at that big man show. Like,
yeah. Dude,
yeah.
I'll pull this up now and figure out how to share my
Ooh,
screen.
dude.
Um
He won, man. That's absurd. Like, how is this guy younger than me?
okay, so this guy is 21. Hold
Uh,
on. Can you see this now?
yeah, yeah, it's shared there.
Okay, so this guy
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
This guy is 21. Spanish
Crazy.
Pro. Let's go into his profile. See what he got going on here. Like
Yeah, crazy maturity, man. Like he's hard. That's quality muscle.
this guy is 3 years younger than me, bro. I wonder if he has like his stats up anywhere. Like, do you know how much he weighs?
I'm not sure. Well, like compare him to the girl there. Like, what's that transformation pic down there to the left?
Oh yeah, so you
I'm
one more
curious to know how old he was in the first one. 2020, dude. Holy shit, that's 3 years. That's crazy. His weight's there in kilos too.
wild. 75,
It's two times 2.2.
2.2.
So like 165, 170,
Yeah, so he's
120.
165 on the left to 230.
Yeah. I mean, he's probably like 5'7" to 5'9", probably.
Yeah, but whew, crazy,
Still,
dude.
like maturity, his hamstrings, you can see like it's crazy.
Oh, absolutely, man. A great shot there too.
Yeah, he looks good.
And I think he just won his pro card. Is that
Yeah.
right?
It's one of the upper pictures there.
One of these
And his
ones.
pin ones, yeah, on the far right. That's his pro card there.
10 weeks ago.
May 21st. Yeah,
Yeah,
so like not
he's
long
gonna move
ago.
up to the ranks quick, man.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Hopefully
Um,
longevity is there. I mean, I'm not sure how long he's been using stuff for, but if I had to get, well, I mean, he was looked natural there in 2020, so
yeah,
he would have
yeah.
been 18 there, so probably after that prep, if I had to guess.
Let me go try to find. I'm gonna try to find some of the to show you like some of the winners from the Bears.
Yeah,
Hold on, let's go.
boys are dug out. I was actually looking at a stat the other day, and it was the top 10 safest places in Canada, and Barrie was number one.
Really?
No, it was number one on the top 10 most dangerous places in Canada.
Hamilton.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not far from here, man.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
So, okay, this is the this guy
Wow,
won bodybuilding, and
that's
he was
crazy.
like close for classic, dude. His like friends and family were like right in front of me in the audience, and they were going nuts, dude. They were hyped. It was awesome.
That reminds me of like Breon a little bit.
Yeah, he looked good, man. And he was like good at posing, like good energy up there. Yeah, that's him here. Let's go through this. Girls. This kid cleaned up. That it was
Yeah,
his first show. And
field
he
man.
I think he got
That's
like
Noah there on the left, right? And to the left
eight
of him.
medals. Yeah, Noah looks really good too, dude.
Yeah, man, I'm in Toronto. Yeah,
He's got
looks
he's
good.
got a
Very
great
good.
classic shape.
Yeah.
This guy came second in bodybuilding.
Okay.
So he looked pretty good. I'll show you the
Good.
guy who won classic. This guy won classic.
Wow.
So again, like older guy
Yeah.
who's had time to put on the muscle and but yeah, man, he looked phenomenal.
Yeah,
Like
legs
his
good.
quads is like peeled. Like for a natural guy, and this guy,
Yeah.
he's 17, I think.
Wow. I thought you couldn't compete now until you're 18 in CPA.
Okay, maybe he is 18, but there was a teenager category, so I don't know what that.
Okay, yeah, that probably changes it then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he won the teenager category, I guess, and he also won either his class, his open class, or juniors. So
Okay.
he beat some other really good guys.
I mean,
Uh,
juniors is up to 21, so he was
Juniors is
definitely.
up to 23, I think.
Is it really 23?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it is because yeah, I competed in juniors in November. Yeah, it was.
Um, but yeah, so crazy show.
Yeah, and I think like another good one too is when Carly's doing the King Kong. That's also a really good natural show. It's
Yeah,
natural and open. There's two different days for it. But that should be really cool to see too. We were looking at the other day the girl who won figure. She looked
yeah.
crazy, crazy.
And Carly's gonna do the natural show.
She's doing natural, yeah, figure.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah,
So
I've been thinking about that, man, because but the thing is, so this is my biggest dilemma currently, is I'm trying to figure out when I'm gonna compete next.
yeah.
Oh, so I was just talking to this guy Tyler at the gym about it. He's from back home. And do you know
Labrador, right?
what's that?
Labrador.
Yeah. He won the he's doing summer shredding. That's gonna be his next show. And he won
Oh,
summer shredding a couple of years ago.
oh,
Dude, summer shredding's got a good thing going now. So
they do.
there's a summer shredding, there's regional shows now for summer shredding. So they have a regional show here in Toronto
Yep.
in mid August, I think. And so
Okay.
if you win that, you qualify for the championships in Houston at Alpha Land. And if you win that show, the overall, it's like $25,000 prize or something crazy like that.
Crazy. That's more than like pro show
Literally,
earning.
bro. But
Yeah.
like Christian Guzman is like funding it all. So like he's
Unbelievable. So
he's
he's gonna have
doing
like his own little federation.
yeah, that's what it seems like. Which I think will be good because it's gonna push the IFBB and like the NPC and the CPA to kind of start making moves. Like, you guys got to start giving back to the athletes a little more and
Well,
kind of
it's like kind of what with golf, like what Liv did with the PGA. Like
exactly.
Liv is like, okay, we're gonna offer you 20 million a
Yeah.
year. It's just PGA, you're getting like 2 million a tournament or whatever.
Dude, who was that soccer player that was
My God. He had like the $1 billion contract or whatever.
yeah, for one
Dude,
year? How much
they
was it?
broke, yeah, $1 billion. They broke it down. I think it was a little over $1 billion, but I think it was like 1.1 or something like that. I seen a guy broke it down. It was like $240 a second.
Yeah, he was making like it's like 2.1 million a day or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Crazy, dude. Like, and he said no, he turned it down, didn't he?
yeah, yeah. He turned it
Can you
down.
imagine the money these guys are making to turn that down?
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Like,
But like at that point, I feel like you're like you have so many assets that like to them that's not even that crazy because their small purchase is like 200 grand.
yeah,
You know
it's
what
like what more do you
I mean?
want?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
yeah, I'm getting this much money, but how much better is that going to make my life? Like,
Yeah,
he's probably super happy playing with the team he's on, and he just
yeah.
kind of wants to make like keep building his career and like make a legacy, I guess.
Can you
Um,
imagine the taxes those guys pay? Like paying tax on $1 billion.
I didn't want
You,
to think about that,
the
bro.
highest tax bracket possible, and they're just like
Yeah,
taking money from you.
yeah. But the thing is, dude, is like if they went to like Saudi Arabia, they probably wouldn't even make them pay taxes.
There's no tax in Dubai. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Like,
crazy.
oh man, I find that interesting though, because like I've seen other people talk about it, and like I like in places like this, they put so much money into sports to kind of like distract people from like what's actually going on
Yeah,
in the country and like
yeah.
make them forget about like all the bad shit they've done.
And
Um,
just like the absurd amount of billionaires. Like I seen Joe Rogan talk about like people identify like these billionaires that everybody knows, but he was like, you want to talk about like trillionaires and like people who have money, go to Saudi Arabia, like those
yeah,
oil companies, those princes and stuff.
it's
They just don't talk about how much they own, but they are the true like wealthiest people in the world.
it's a different kind of rich, dude.
It is. It's like so I seen Sergio did a podcast with Fuad. He said it's like Futurama over there. Like soon to be flying cars, like
Yeah,
they're just
dude. So I
yeah.
saw they're making like a literal like I guess like country or city
Yeah.
in like this strip. Like the
Yeah.
strip just goes right
Yeah.
down and everything is just like stacked up and it's like it just blows my mind, dude.
I
Like
think it's going to be like the tallest building in the world or something like that. Like an
yeah,
own little community within this building. Like it's
yeah,
absurd. Never have to leave, do everything you need to do inside of there. Like it's crazy.
exactly. Yeah, so back to the shows. So my thing is, so I was thinking about doing the King Kong show,
Yeah.
and so that would be November 2024. So that would give me time to do another massing phase after this, do a health phase, and then start prep. But the thing is there's no national show after that.
Right. So you'd be
So
qualified for like the following
the
year.
following year. So I'm thinking like, do I want to maybe do that? Because like I know realistically going to nationals this year, I'm not like in a running for a pro card or anything like that. I know like I just kind of want to go see how I line up, like actually make it to nationals this time. And yeah, just kind of get my bearings and get on the stage and get a taste for it.
Get those jitters out. Like so when you do go there for real, you don't have that first time feeling, right?
Exactly. And like
Tell people to just compete, just get it over with. So you
even
get to
just to have like that judging panel like see me and be like, okay, like I'll come back in like a year or two, and then they're like, oh wow, like he's improved a lot type thing, right? Because I think that makes a big difference too, rather than seeing a guy for the first time, like yeah, it'll be cool to go up there and like shock them, but like I feel like if they're more familiar with you, they'll probably have a better look at you, right? Like unless you're like a superstar. So
And I also think like bodybuilding placings is not even so much about like how you look compared to other people. It's like how much did you improve? Like, are you worthy of the place that you're getting, right? If
yeah,
that makes sense, right? Like if you've improved tremendously over 2 years, and you're like, okay, this guy, because what they're doing is handing out pro cards for future pros. So like how well are you going to adapt to the pro life? It's like same thing with the NBA, right? It's like
exactly.
people from college, like, okay, you might be skilled, but like how well will that convert to the real deal, right? So if
Yeah,
you should improve over a couple of years, you're like, okay, this guy actually has what it takes to
and
like
like
keep.
that's what bodybuilding's about. Like you need to be constantly improving. And yeah, you could get this one-off guy who looks phenomenal and crazy, but if he's just gonna get that pro card and like just fuck off, like what's the point in that? How is that gonna improve the league? How is that gonna better the league? So you want to get it's like like getting like a franchise player, like in like a draft. Like you want to pick people that's gonna make the league better and make more people put more fans in the seats and
Business, right? At the end of the day, like, how is this going to move our company in a better direction? Because it's always about in the future. It's never about what's currently going on. Like, we want guys who are going to register for their IFBB Pro card every year, enter shows, be ambassadors of sport. Like, they want the future there, right? It's not just like we're not going to give it to this guy because it's a bucket list thing and he wants to get a pro card and he's going to retire.
yeah,
We want somebody who's ambitious and going to keep giving us money. Essentially, it's a
yeah,
business, right?
exactly. Um, But yeah, so like I'm trying to figure out if okay, do I want to do the King Kong show and then qualify for the following year, and then just put on more size, or do I want to actually like make like a good competition season out of it? I'm thinking like another potential show would be Fuad show here in May, so that would be May 2024. So
I
I'm
guess
not
Toronto would be shortly after that, right?
Toronto, yeah, Toronto would be June. So those are both close. Um, And there's also, I think there's a show in Ottawa as well. Anyways, there's a couple more shows kind of kicking around. So I wouldn't be opposed to doing like, a couple regional shows and
Why
just
not?
kind of,
Yeah,
because I've never really done that. I've never done more than one show.
me either. And that's
Um,
something we were talking about doing this year. Because I'm in the same boat as you. It's like, when do I compete? What's best? So I think we've decided that like I'm going to aim for April 2024. This is this part two of the off season, and we're pushing things a little harder this time. So I'm
yeah,
pretty confident that I can get to a point where I can get on a stage. I'm not going to compete unless I think I'm going to be around like 225, 230 on stage. I
yeah,
mean, at our height, it's not even worth my time to get on a stage looking stringy as fuck. So unless I'm like 225, 230, the plan is April. Because like I would finish up this blast pretty much around Christmas time, and then we would start prep essentially right away. Eat lower food because the drugs are still gonna be circulation for a while. Take those 8 weeks and then push hard at 16 weeks out, and that would
yeah,
bring us right to April. So I'm thinking about like maybe Atlantics would be a good choice.
yeah,
Flex would be cool too, but I think like the Flex is coming up, right? It's like in 10 weeks or something.
yeah. Flex is October, isn't it? In October?
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to compete out of province, but like I want to stay within Atlantic Canada for the second one,
Yeah,
and maybe come back here for like the local show. But it would be tough because if that's April and the show here is in July, then I'm not gonna hold on that
yeah,
long.
yeah,
No point. Just to compete here, just for shits of it. But yeah, I think in April, and then we'll see what happens then. But I would like to do what you're doing, kind of two shows. Because if we fuck up the first one, at least then we can kind of bring it better for the second one, right?
yeah. And so is your goal, are you planning to try to get to nationals or
No, like even if I do place well Atlantics and get a qualification, I don't think it's worth my while.
yeah,
6'2" and open, like those guys are like we saw them in Toronto, 285, 270.
huge.
I'm just not there yet. It's as a
Yeah,
bodybuilder, you got to admit when you're not there, right? And it's just like, what's the better choice? Stay dieting for 2 months or get right back to the drawing board? Let's start adding some tissue again. And
yeah,
then probably be a nice little reset, right? Insulin sensitivity back. I'll be nice and lean and receptive, and then it's grow time again.
yeah.
I think that's the better choice.
Yeah, and I think too, like you get better and better with every prep that you do. And
Absolutely.
yes,
Yeah.
I think it's good to take, long periods of time and make it a quality off season, rather than taking a couple months off, doing a massing phase and doing a show again. Like, that's not the way to do things, but also like pushing, your bulk or your massing phase for 2, 3 years.
It's hard, so hard to get back there, right? Like for me, last half season was 3 years. And by
Yeah,
the end of the 3 years, like I forgot what it was like to be on stage. So it took me until like 12 weeks out to kind of like get in a groove, right?
yeah,
Of okay, I'm in prep now. Like this is prep mode.
yeah,
And so like me and Morgan talked about this. Like you want to keep it like a year and a half to grow, but just see where you're at again. And then if you're gonna cut anyways to get that insulin sensitivity back, why not just compete, right?
yeah,
Gonna, help the business, more notoriety competing away, and just gives people a chance, the same thing you said, just the judges to look at you, right? And then you can come back next year with those improvements.
yeah. And I think too, like, your lines get deeper, like the muscle gets like just grainier. It's just like another, like, obviously, like in a prep, you're taking drugs that you wouldn't take in the off season, and that's
Right.
going to change your look completely.
Yep.
And so just repeating that process over and over again, and again, just like beating on your body, and like getting like fucking peeled.
Yep.
It gets easier and easier to get, to
And
that.
that's something we're going for this year. Like I think I could have been probably 8 to 10 pounds lighter to be
Yeah,
truly peeled. So this time there's no, it's we're gonna get there and like at all cost
yeah.
because you
Well, I think
can't.
I think too, it's like you can just like hit the gas right out of the gates.
Yeah,
Like, as soon as like, take your first 4 weeks of prep to clean things up, but like 16 weeks, like, you can hit the gas, and worst case, like you can bring your food back up a little bit. You know what I mean? But like I think you need to just like push it earlier in prep
yeah,
and make sure that you're ready.
yeah.
Um
Because
and
you have more fat than you think, right? Like you start seeing things really like the lines come in at like 6 weeks out, and then it's like, okay,
yeah,
probably should have been at this point 4 weeks ago, right? And so this time we know, like, especially coming off of like a huge off season, like we know I got some fat to get rid of. So right away we're going hard, and like I want to be like ready by 3 weeks out.
Oh yeah, I think 100%, 100%, especially like, I think any good like high level competitor is ready, 3, 5 weeks out.
Well, you
Um,
have to feed early, right?
yeah, exactly, exactly. And your body kind of lets that kind of like sit in. Like your body's like, okay, this is where we're at right now. And like I think if you're like, pushing hard right up until the show, that's going to show on stage because your
Yeah, you
body.
think about your stress tolerance, right? Like but towards the end of prep, your organs are like, I've had enough. Like you're using orals and you're doing shitloads of cardio. You don't have any time to like liven up, let your legs
No.
flush, like just chillax.
Yeah,
So I remember last prep, I was doing cardio like an hour and a half until Wednesday, just
yeah.
to try to get there, right? And it just kind of depleted my look a little bit because we were using T3, and I
Mhm.
think it was just eating up my tissue by that point, right?
Yeah,
Body just had enough, fat was staying, but the muscle was going. So
yeah.
lesson learned, well, that's what preps are all about, right? It's just
Yeah, oh, 100%, dude. You learn more about your body every time. And I think like I'm in the same boat. Like I think we could have pushed harder earlier in my prep because it wasn't until 7, 8 weeks that I really looked like I was, getting ready for a show.
yeah.
But like my body like changed and responded like super quickly. But I think if that had happened a little earlier, then like I was lean for my show, but I think I definitely could have been leaner.
Can always be leaner.
Yeah, you could always be leaner. And I think something will change next time is we just need to carb up earlier. Because I was like, I wasn't full enough for the morning show. And by the time finals came around, I was like spilling over,
Yeah, and
right?
probably bloated too, right, from the food. So you lost
Exactly.
your,
Like if you look at my midsection, hold on. Oh,
which is strange for you because you actually have a pretty small waist. So that's like what I was doing with Spencer. So I like Spencer doesn't have a shit ton of muscle, so I knew we didn't have to carb him hard.
yeah,
So man, like if we can roll in with this peeled look, but just a little bit fuller, like I don't need to blow you up. Like let's just come in
exactly.
peeled. That's
And that's
it.
the thing, like I think some classic guys, what they'll do is like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is like they'll carb up then and like fill up, and then they'll just kind of hold that until
That's it.
Saturday. So
Yeah.
like Saturday, there's no food in their stomach,
Yeah.
right? So I mean, it's different for everybody.
I
Um,
watched a really good podcast with Cal about this. That
yeah,
pro coach. He did a really good segment with John Jewett on peak week, and that's what he, especially guys who have to make weight. It's like we want that stomach as flat as possible, right? So let's
yeah.
feed early in the week, and then let's just hold that look, right?
Well, dude, that's exactly because Cal coaches Brandon Harding,
Yeah,
and that's exactly what they did for his last show. Yeah, if you look at like here, like this was in finals, and like my like that is as tight as my waist would go. Like you can
yeah,
see like my upper stomach is like a little bit distended there,
the
uh,
upper abs. Yeah,
and like here a little bit as well. But yeah, like and you go back to where was that picture? I think this picture is of me on like Monday,
yeah.
something like that. See, like the waist is just so much tighter there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, like, just moving forward, it's just like making those small changes. And just bringing a better package every time. It's just experience and
And,
knowledge.
and you're gonna have more muscle each time, so it's just gonna get easier and easier to get in shape,
Makes it
right?
easier. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I'd like next time I compete, I'd like to be close to my weight cap.
What's your
Um,
big gap for your height?
237.
That's
So
pretty. It's big. 237 on stage is big.
it is big. It is big. So hopefully, like, yeah, hopefully it all goes to my legs. That's what I'm hoping.
So we all
Yeah. That's what I need, man. But yeah, I mean we'll see and we'll assess as these massing phases go along. But I mean I would like to get another one in before I compete again, but we'll see. We'll see.
just taking it. I guess the objective right now is just hammer this off-season phase and then make a decision on what happens
Yeah,
after.
just taking it one at a time, one at a time. Do you got questions there? We did put up
Yeah. You have some questions? Okay, let's go through some of those. Okay, let's pull those up. All right. So, question number one. Can you still grow if not in a calorie surplus, but protein is more than 1 gram per pound of body weight?
I think yes, but like how much and like how efficiently.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. It
So it's
also
like
depends, are you enhanced?
that's
That's one. Because like me, we both grow like crazy, like from 16 weeks out to 8 weeks out. Your calories are that on that fine line.
yeah,
It's just the drugs are reinforcing that growth, right? And insulin sensitivity is so good that all those carbs are being utilized. So it also depends if you're natural or not.
yeah, 100%. And I think too, it's like yeah, it's just like it's like yeah, you could be like a lifestyle client and like you want to stay lean and just like, build a little bit of muscle, like tone up.
Yeah.
By all means, you can, have your protein high, have calories lower, and still grow, but like at a very slow rate. But in terms of bodybuilding purposes, it's just not efficient at all.
You have to pick one or the other.
Yeah,
And like you've seen that with us, like we've both grown so much in the last couple of years because we fully dedicate to an off season and then we
yeah,
fully dedicate to a prep. There's not like one week I'm like, oh, I'm fat right now, I don't want to eat, so I'm gonna cut. And then next week I change my mind. Oh, I'm gonna eat this week because it's just fluctuation, right? So if you're
yeah.
gonna dedicate yourself to growing,
Just
eat your
gotta go to the
protein and then
extremes.
eat your carbs, man. Just blow up. Let the
Yeah.
calories ride high and just monitor your body fat. Your body fat gets too high, pull back a little bit.
I think that's why you see like these influencers who are lean year round, they don't make that much progress.
No, dude.
Like for
Not at
like the
all.
natty guys, like their look stays relatively the same because they're eating so little food and just to look shredded and look good on Instagram so their socials do well. Um, but they're really not putting on much muscle,
Not at all. No, I remember like
maintaining it.
when I used to watch like Sush and those guys, like they would be
Yeah,
tracking calories like to a T, like got to stay, within like 2,700 calories a day to keep my abs or whatever. And like, man, like if you want to bodybuild, then you got to bodybuild. Like you
yeah,
got to grow. It's simple, right?
yeah.
All right. Question number two. Favorite cheat meal?
Sushi.
Yeah, me too. I could eat
Definitely.
sushi pretty much anytime.
Yeah. I do
That's
enjoy I do enjoy a good fish taco as well.
at like Coney's.
Yeah, yeah, or like Moxie's randomly has really good fish tacos as well. Um, but yeah, honestly, I've never had a bad fish taco. So
No, they're usually pretty good. Like
yeah,
anything, Big Mary's, die for Big Mary's. It's always
yeah,
class.
yeah, a good chicken burger is always good. Absolutely.
All right, question number three. Who can drink more before passing out? I feel like we're both pretty lightweight, to be honest.
Yeah, man, I think I will 100% throw up before I pass out. I don't think I've ever passed out from like drinking too much. And
Like couple, like at Luke's wedding, I got pretty fucked up there.
we were both
Yeah,
saucily
I
sweating.
did puke. I did puke as well, but yeah, like I went to a wedding, like a wedding dance the other day for Carly's cousin, and I had 4 drinks within an hour, and I was buzzed, like
Yeah,
staggering, trying to get to the washroom.
that's hilarious.
Just the timing too, like you drink fast
Yeah,
with it on an empty stomach too, and it did not help whatsoever.
that's the thing, right? And like we like never drink anymore. And I
No,
feel like that tolerance just isn't there. Like me back in high school,
prime days.
the prime days, I could take like a 26-ounce bottle to a party and drink it. And like I'd be gone, but like I'd still be kicking, you know what I mean?
Puke and rally, puke and rally.
Which is crazy to think about. Like,
Oh, dude, I would, yeah, like any party I ever went to would either be like a dozen beer or like a 26er or
yeah, wild.
bizarre times, man. Bizarre
Hard
times.
times.
How times have changed.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Next question. Most underrated exercise.
Damn. Most
I
underrated
feel like
exercise.
there's anything like anything worth doing is I think people are doing it. I think like deadlifts are kind of underrated.
I think because a lot of people hate on deadlifts, but I think if you're because we both deadlifted
Yeah.
when we were like young and I guess our lifting careers.
Yeah.
And I think that one made us both really strong and it put like a lot of mass on us. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
I think it makes sense within a certain circumstance. Like it makes sense if you have like a back and hamstring day. I
yeah,
wouldn't do it like on a back day, or I wouldn't do it on like a lower body day.
yeah,
But
yeah,
like as a whole posterior movement, it's fantastic. Like you're not gonna get anything like that.
yeah. No, 100% dude. Like Gavin Clark, so he competed last time you competed, but like his biggest thing, like we were trying to bring up his back because like his legs, he does not train legs now. He has like a back and hamstring day. And
His legs are still massive. Like he wears shorts all the time, and they're
dude,
still
I know. And apparently his legs has always been like that and it rots me. But so he does leg extensions on a like a push day. And he just has, the back and hamstring day, which has deadlifts. So I get him to do like work up to like a heavy working set of deadlifts. And then we do back offs with RDLs. So we'll
yeah.
do like two back off sets with RDLs. Then he'll do some hamstring curls, and that's like all the leg work he's doing because we're trying to like allocate all like as much volume as possible towards his back to
His
improve that.
erectors go back.
Yeah,
And you
like
he
back
built
and arms.
crazy erectors doing deadlifts. My erectors have gotten meaty from doing just pulling from the floor, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And not like in the kind of like with a high hip position, not really like not leg pressing it, but
Yeah,
actually hinging at the hip and picking it up and like extending and flexing your low back.
and
I
I
feel
I
does
think
one.
that comes with time too, because like we know how to like we want to target our hamstrings and our lower back. So it's like, we can position our body so we're getting that. We're not activating our quads at all or anything like that. So I think that makes a big difference. And like that's something that's going to come with time. You're not going to have a beginner go into the gym and be able to do that.
Well,
And
they're just cat backing, right? Like trying to peel
and
plates.
I'm still noticing that like even like training up here, like where there's so many different pieces of equipment, I'm like learning to like activate like different parts of my back or like focus on like my chest more, just like I think it's just something that comes with time, right?
Had to be like for me, I find when I like get on a machine, okay, first step is like be conscious of what you're doing here. Like what are we trying to do? Because like when you first start out, you're just moving weight. Like you're just grabbing the
A
handles
to
and you're
B.
right. Then like once you get so far and you realize, okay, like we're doing this exercise because it's for upper back. We're doing this exercise for lat. Like make a conscious effort to think about it. Like what do I have to do mechanically wise to put myself in the best position to train that muscle,
Yeah,
right? This is
and
in
like
same with deadlifts.
for every exercise too, like I have cues that I've like came up with myself over time that work for me. Now these cues probably won't work for other people or might not work for everybody. But there's these things that I constantly think about when I'm doing certain exercise. Like if I'm trying to target my upper back, I'm like, okay, I got to flare out my elbows a little bit and really pinch at the top, right? And it's different for every exercise. And like a big thing for me, like with improving like my upper chest, because that's something that I struggled with. Um, it was those cues, right? And just like constantly thinking about like I find like you got to think about exactly where in the muscle
Yeah.
that you want to focus on, and like you can't have your thoughts wandering while you're doing a set. You can't be thinking about other shit. You got to be present in the moment, like thinking about what exactly you should be doing. Like you need to, exercise with intent.
I find too, like I find myself a lot lately, like I have my workouts laid out now, like I'm doing the same exercises week to week. And like when I get up in the morning, I'll look at my phone, see what I got today. And then all day long, I'll be consciously thinking about what I'm doing. And in my own mind, I'm visualizing myself in the gym, doing this exercise, what weight I'd like to do this week, how I'm going to do it. Like, and it kind of
Yeah,
gets me fired up, right? Like, get you, okay, like in 5 o'clock, we're training today. Like, it gets me going to be there for
yeah,
5.
exactly, dude.
I
Yeah,
find if you just kind of like cruise into it, okay, we show up to the gym, I don't know what I'm training, and then you look at your phone, and that's where when it starts. As soon as you get there, you're like, well, like I'm not even mentally prepared to be here,
yeah, I know. And then it takes you a couple sets, couple exercises just to get into it.
and then
Right.
you're there by the end of the workout, and it's time to go home.
Yeah.
All right. So next question. Do you hear my cat meowing?
No.
Very good. What's one thing you tell your past self? I would say no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
It's something I actually had a question the other day in my Q&A. Someone asked, as a young person trying to get into like posting on social media, like what's the biggest thing? It's just like who gives a shit, man? Like you you think that people care a lot more than they do. Like you think about when you're scrolling down through your Instagram page, you're friends with a lot of people. You're just double tapping the post and scrolling, right?
Oh yeah.
I'm not reading the detailed description. Like it's just no one cares, man. Everybody has their own shit going on. Like they'll support you, but they're not like critiquing
Yeah.
what you're doing, right? Like
And
no
the
one
people
cares.
that do care, like, are like those are the people who like don't know you, their opinions don't matter, and they most of the time they don't have a clue what they're talking about.
And they're miserable. They hate their lives. Like it's
Exactly. And like this is just what they're doing, right? They just, I don't know if it makes them feel better or what it does, but it's, it's I at this point, it's just like funny to me because like I get so many comments on like TikTok and stuff like that, and it's just like most of the time I just like I'll just fuck with people,
Yeah.
and like it's funny. But yeah, I
It's
think that's
also
definitely
just like a part of becoming an adult as well. Like
yeah,
just
100%.
becoming a
It's just
man. It's like,
maturing.
yeah, it's like no one cares, right?
Yeah. And I think so, like, I think that's a really good one. Like, don't care what people think. And this one kind of falls under it, but like, I think everyone needs to find something that they're like truly passionate about. And like, I posted this on my story the other day or yesterday. Um, and it was this post basically saying, like, like for people who are like depressed and like have mental health issues, it's like, they have nothing to like look forward to, nothing to
Exactly.
like chase after. They have like no why. Like I know like every morning that I wake up, I'm like, I'm waking up with a purpose. Like I have a
Yeah, of course.
checklist of things that I have to do. And like that's what keeps me going. Like, yes, absolutely I have bad days, but like that doesn't change what I do throughout the day. And I'm sure if I woke up like not feeling good about myself and like not in a good mood, and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna do nothing today because I'm not feeling myself, that's not gonna make me feel any better. You know what I
No.
mean? Like I'm gonna feel way worse because of that. And so there's like so many things throughout my day that I do that it's just like, like eat all my meals, do my cardio, do my workout, chat with my clients, like do my work, like post on social media. There's things that I check off, and like each one of those things that I check off, like makes me feel good about myself and makes me feel confident, and like you're accomplishing something, right?
It's the same thing with me. Like, like as soon as you wake up, if you're it's gonna be a shit day, like
Yeah,
mentally. And what I do is I just open up my phone and make a list of things I have to do. And as I tick those boxes, I just feel better and better and better. Because
exactly.
like it's
Please
also
work
the
on your
blessing
day.
of being self-employed, right? We just literally cannot have days where we don't do anything
No, dude.
because we are responsible for athletes. I have one-on-one clients I have to go to. It's just not even possible, right? So it's like you get two choices. Either you can sit there and be miserable, or you can try to be productive and make it a little better. Like it's like when you break things down to its simplest form, it's always two choices.
Yeah.
And you can go left or you can go right.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. And like another thing too is like that I've realized within the past like couple months is like how much I post on social media completely dictates how much money I make.
Exactly.
Because like if I like fuck off for a while, or like if you look at a month when I'm most consistent on social media, I guarantee you that is the month that I've made the most money.
Generate the most leads. Yeah, I agree.
And that's just what it comes down to. Like it's like how much are you like however much you're willing to work, that's how much money you're going to make. And of course, over time, like, you become more efficient and like, but like when it like boils down to it, like that's what it is.
Especially in your 20s, man. Like I feel like 20s are designed for you to just like go ape shit, just grind. And
Yeah.
just where you end up in your 30s. Like
And like
that's
I think too, like going back to like another piece of advice is like don't be afraid to like take a risk and like fuck up.
what's the
Because
worst can
what's the worst that can happen? Absolutely.
happen.
Like coming up, like moving up here, huge risk for me. Like I literally just started working for myself, and like I like before I came up here, I was training personal training clients. I worked at a gym as well, and I just stopped doing all that and like went fully online, and moved to like one of the most expensive places in Canada to live, and things are going well.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, you got to be willing to take that risk if you want to kind of like improve your life. And it doesn't have to be something like big like that, but it could just be like, okay, like I'm gonna start posting on social media, or I'm gonna like start putting in job applications.
And even if you think, yeah, like think about people who are really struggling, it's like doing your laundry, clean your house, get in a shower, like
Yeah,
just treat yourself good, like your environment, like Jordan Peterson always says this, like clean your room. Like how you're surrounding in your environment dictates how you feel. It's
yeah.
clear.
And I think there's a direct correlation to like how your environment looks is like how you are like mentally. Like so if
Exactly.
you have a really cluttered room, your space is really cluttered, like you've got a lot of shit going on in your head. And like you need to like, you know, anytime like I feel like super anxious, and that's probably like the biggest thing that I deal with is like anxiety, is like I'll like clean and organize.
Me
Like
too.
I'll get out my planner, I'll plan out my week. I make a checklist of things to do. Like I make sure like the laundry's done, the house is clean, and that makes me feel 10 times better. And then my head is clear and I'm like, okay, I got all this off my plate now. Now I can go and like start ticking off other things. Like
Because like those things are subconscious. Like You're sitting there doing nothing, and you know that all this shit should be done and it needs to get done, but you're focused on something else, but you can't do that other thing until all of that shit gets taken care of, right? And then your mind is clear and you're able to do the work that you need to
Yeah.
do.
And
It's just,
like I would never be able to like sit down in the night and relax, knowing that like I have all this other shit to do.
yeah,
You know, if I don't get everything throughout the day like ticked off, then like, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be able to relax tonight because that'll be on my mind, right?
yeah. You just won't enjoy your night either. So you're just gonna be thinking about it all night long, and then you're not gonna be able to sleep. Like it's no point, right?
And it just builds up. Like every morning that like you hit snooze or like you skip your cardio or you do, it makes it that much easier to do it the next day.
And it just starts your day like on the wrong foot. And like it's like people when they cheat on their diet. Like they have a little bit, but they're like, I've had this much. Like I may as well just go
May
all
as
in.
well have more. Yeah, yeah.
Right? It's like I fucked up a little bit, well, I may as well go all out with it, right? And
No,
that's
man.
a repetitive cycle, right? Because then it leads into the next day.
And then that's how people
Days,
start
then-
binge eating. Like, right?
yeah. Well,
So
like post show, like that's what it's like, right? It's like, oh, I'm gonna have a cookie here, but like that tastes pretty good.
yeah,
That
then
whole
you're having a
box
cookie
is
with
looking
every meal.
delish. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right. So next question: as a coach, how do you go about helping clients when they're looking for reliable PED sources? And have you ever had a client want to start a cycle and you've advised against it?
I've definitely, in terms of like dosages, I've definitely advised against stuff. Because like obviously I've had clients come to me who've already been using PEDs and they've been using this much. And I'm like, well, I'm not comfortable with you using that much. Like I know how much you can get out of using this much. This is, what I've done. This is what I'm comfortable with. This is, so like I would never or very rarely would prescribe anyone anything that I haven't done myself.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that kind of comes down to like, a peace of mind thing. And like, especially where like I'm early into using PEDs myself, I'm early into like coaching people with using PEDs. So it comes down to like, that. So yeah, I've definitely been like, okay, like, if you want to like, coach with me and like you want my guidance, like this is how things are going to be.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't work for you, then that doesn't work. You can find someone else. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like I always err on the side of caution. Like the last thing I want is a call from a client's family member saying, so and so passed away because of something I told them to do, right? It's worst fear. So it's always like, how can we achieve the best results with the lowest amount possible? And the
And I think
client is on board with that because they also want to take care of their health. And yeah, they just don't want to be. If you want to go with a reckless coach, then go for that. But like you said, you tell the client beforehand. I take the minimalistic approach. If you don't like it, then you're gonna have to find somebody who's more reckless. But yeah,
exactly, yeah. And like, I mean, like I think in terms of longevity in bodybuilding, like if you're in it for the long run, like this is how you should be doing it.
yeah,
You
agree.
can't just like, a lot of people will be like, I think we talked about this before, but like, you know, people have this idea that they're like, okay, I'm young and I'm healthy, so I'm gonna abuse the shit out of it right now while my
Yeah,
body can handle it. And it's just like, no, 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 no. Like this
that
is,
work.
but like, and they see like people who are like, the best in the world right now, and then they compare themselves against them. And okay, like, Sebum was here when he was this age, or Urs was here when he was this age. It's just like where you look at that 21-year-old that we were looking at earlier. And it's like that's where I need to be if I want to make something out of this. And it's like that's just not the case. It's just people are
That's
very close-minded. It's just like
one
this
in
is
a
the
million
only
people,
way.
right? They're
Absolutely.
genetic freaks.
Yeah.
Like if you look at somebody who, like, especially in even classic or open, like somebody who's not like crazy, some genetic freak, they're looking to turn pro like 25 to 30, right? Like it takes time to build quality tissue, but do it as safely as possible. Like if you see a guy who turns, well, there is more pro cards nowadays, but like you're talking about a big dude who turns pro early, it's like they have the mix of everything. Like they are built for it. So it's
Yeah.
it's not the same, right? Those guys can probably get away with like look at Samson, for example. He's been off of everything for weeks and weeks and weeks, doing guest posings and fucking mogging everybody. Conditioning is good, huge, right?
Yeah.
Like some people are just designed differently. So you can't always compare. It's
But
not
again,
apple.
you look at Samson too, and he's taken a while to come up his own and like get to this point. Like he's just hitting his prime now. And how old is he? He's like 30.
30s, yeah, mid 30s,
Yeah.
35,
I
36.
think he's low to mid 30s. But like, for a lot of guys that is their prime. And but it's people who are young and are like, I need to get to this point. I need to be on par with these people who are the best in the world. And they don't have their genetics.
Yeah.
And they think like abusing steroids to get there is gonna do that for them, but it's not because they'll never be where they are. And those are the people who
Never.
you see passing away and like, having all these health issues, right?
Or have like a 10-year stint of hard steroid abuse and then we're forced to retire at 28 or 30.
Exactly.
You're on dialysis at 30, and then for what? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like play it smart and know what you're capable of. Like there's some people I talk to who know they're never going to turn pro. Like it's just how it is. But they accept that and they use what they have to their advantage and then they make business out of it, etc.
Yeah. There's so much you can get out of like this industry, like bodybuilding itself. Like you can't make a lot of money doing that unless you're the best in the world.
Yeah.
But there's so many other ways that you can make money within this industry. And I think like, coaching being one of them. It's like if you're known as a guy who just like abused gear to get where you are, like, that's not a good look. And not a
No.
lot of people are like, especially now that like I feel like generations coming up, like people are starting to smarten up and they're like, okay, like I don't need to do this to, build a good physique. They're gonna err to the side or lean towards, people who take the safer, like minimalistic approach.
It's no longer a case of like let's do the kitchen sink and see where we end up, you know? Like you have guys like John Jewett who are and like Victor Black, like those guys who are like really meticulous with stack designs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like if you get stack designs 20 years ago, like guys were doing like a little bit of everything, you know, a couple of Androls, some Deca, like whatever we can get in, we're gonna
They're
do it.
just experimenting, like,
Yeah, essentially, yeah, like don't even know what's doing what. It's just
yeah.
like there's no way to gauge it. You're doing 8 different compounds. Like, how do you know what's doing anything?
What's doing what? Yeah. Like,
It's
oh, I
like,
look good.
yeah, you look good, but like, how's your blood work? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, I don't
exactly.
know. Never got my blood work.
Yeah. Oh, man,
It's
it's
typical,
crazy.
right?
Crazy.
In
And
terms of
what do you think?
sources,
Question
like
for
the,
you. What do
yeah,
you think about people like finishing a show
yeah.
and going like continuing to blast gear post show?
So I think it depends. So I have my guy Andreas, who's doing the show in October. So the timeline for him was a little weird because we had enough time to do like a short 14-week blast.
Yeah.
We took our 8 weeks off, and then that landed us at 12 weeks out. So we're gonna blast now for 12 weeks. And he's gonna compete, but we still have about 4 weeks of growing time, right? Because where the blast is so short. So I'm going to pull everything. I'm going to pull the trend. We don't need that in.
Yeah.
We don't need any orals. We don't need any cleanse. So it's essentially just going to be test and mast. So with him, I'm going to run that an extra 4 weeks. But if you've been prepping for 20 weeks
Yeah.
or 40 weeks for some people who start a long competitive season, you keep that going after, not a good idea. You just got to look at the timeline, right? Like, what are you using? Like, how's your blood work? Let's drop what doesn't need to be there. Like, we have no longer any desire for trend. All it does is hold on to muscle tissue. We're now eating in a surplus, so we're
Yeah.
growing, not holding on to it. So I think it depends on the situation, but yeah, I don't agree with people who do like a 16-week prep with hard gear and then do like an additional 6 weeks after. I think that's
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah. No,
Just
I
for
agree. I agree.
think about too, like the 6 weeks post show. Think about how your blood pressure goes up from all that food. Your kidneys are already hurting from the orals, the tren, and all that, and now you're just gonna basically double up on the blood pressure
Yeah.
by
And not
keeping up.
and like too, like for anyone who's competed, like that like after you finish competing and you come off everything, you're pretty hurting. Like your body is beat up. And
Aches and pains.
so you got to think. So you're in that position already. You're going to start eating more food to boost training performance so you can lift heavier and beat on your body more just for
Anymore.
just
Yeah.
for what? Like, how it's kind of like a risk reward thing. Like
And
how much
like
are you really getting
yeah,
from it?
even if you look at like I seen Kuba Klein made a actually it was a scientific meta-analysis or a randomized control trial on competitors actually on how much tissue you actually gain post show like in those first 4 weeks. It's
Cool.
actually not that much.
Yeah.
measured tissue amount, and it was like very minimal. Like a lot of it's just water retention and just the muscle expanding, right? It's hydrated, there's water in there, there's glycogen in there. So like how much, because your body's been through so much stress, like
Yeah.
in a caloric deficit, you're doing crazy amounts of cardio, you're taking stimulants that's hard on your heart to lose fat. You're taking things that like trend across the blood-brain barrier, it's going to your brain, like it's not good shit, right? So yeah, I think unless the timeline allows, pull everything and just let your body just rejuvenate.
Yeah, I agree. And so I think the biggest thing post show is yes, but like one thing I'd be curious about with that study is how that would pair. So say you take the results in the amount of muscle gain post show in those 6 weeks, and then you just compare that to another 6 weeks, like take a random 6 weeks throughout the year. It given the same, same drugs, same dosages. But obviously like, the variable there would be like, how insulin sensitive you are.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the biggest thing is about taking advantage of that post show. Um, and also just like not getting fat. Like you want to try to hold on to that for as long as possible. And if you can hold on to that for the entire maintenance phase and then head into your next massing phase with still a lean physique, then
You're golden.
you're setting yourself up for
You're
success.
gonna essentially be right where you were at the rebound anyways.
Exactly.
But your organs are fresh, blood work looks good, and then you're clear to go, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's good. All right, what do we got next? Next question. Can you give advice on balancing training with a physical job?
Yeah. I mean, like I've got a lot of clients who like work in the trades and like work, 10, 12-hour days. And I mean, it's difficult. I think for someone who's in like a fat loss phase and who's, just trying to lose weight, it's you gotta kind of pair that with, okay, like if they're doing a 10, 12-hour day of hard work on, like, most of these guys are doing either a week off, week on, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. On those days that they're having long days, is it worth doing cardio on those days? And that's going to kind of either take away from their training or like, slow down the recovery. So I think that's one thing that you definitely have to consider. And it also, how labor intensive is their job,
Exactly. Yeah.
right?
I think you had to pick your battles, right? Like, if you just worked 14 hours straight, like, is it wise to train? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas
How much are you
12
going to
hours
get out of it?
fresh, it's like, it's tough though, because there's no real solution because you have to work, that's it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And like you said, like, are you carrying bricks all day?
Yeah.
Like I went, my first prep, I was a cook at Mary Brown as a head cook. I worked 12-hour days, pretty much 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then I would train at 9.
Yeah.
My training sessions were dog shit. Like I was eating no carbs, so I was flat as it is. So there's no volume to the tissue at all. So when I went to train, I was flat and empty, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the
Just
thing too, is like obviously, if you're not in prep, given that this is not a prep situation, you want to, like, even if it is a prep situation, I guess you want to make sure that you're kind of ensuring that a lot of those carbs, you're getting a good meal pre-workout and post-workout, and like your carbs should kind of be, like period workout, like kind of have those
yeah,
surround your workout. And I think that's probably the biggest thing is like ensuring that, okay, you have fuel for your workout. And that's one thing you can do because, like, if you're working all day, you like these guys might not have time to be eating meals or like have good meals throughout the day. So making sure that you have like a good meal before the gym is definitely beneficial. I know, like, when you were working long days or like you would have a nap before you went to the gym, even if it's just a quick one, that's
yeah.
something too.
In the
Like
car,
if you have time to like kick your feet back, have a good meal, kind of chill out for a little bit. I think that'll make a big difference in training performance. Um,
even mentally too. Like mentally going from working 12 hours a day where you're interacting with people, loud noises, you're just stimulated for 12 hours straight. And
yeah,
from that going straight to a gym, your brain's just gonna be scattered. So like I would sit in my car for 20 minutes, dead silence, and just listen to the sound of silence and just
yeah,
let myself like kind of come back to earth. And then I'd be good to go. I'd mentally prepare for the session and I'd go and train.
yeah,
But it's like I said, man, it's tough because like I know I have a couple guys too who work offshore and it's like they're doing 12-hour days and then like they have to sleep at some point, but they also have to train and eat and they have scheduled eating windows like to
yeah,
get so much time off for like morning, lunch, supper, whatever. So it's meticulous, man, trying to coach those guys. And like a lot of times on the offshore rigs, it's like the cooks are dog shit. Like they're not helpful at all. Like deep fried everything. Like they won't cook you anything. Like no
Yeah.
clean breast. Like Andreas is vegan, so he gets like tofu shipped in, but like he's in Quebec and they're so anal over there. Like I'm like basically told him to go fuck himself when he went there. Like we're not gonna do anything for you, right? Like just figure it out yourself type thing.
What does he do for work?
He's a marine engineer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So like even when he went there, like he had initially I told him like, there's no point to do this prep unless you can properly train because there's no on the board of the boat they have like dumbbells, some bands. I'm like, we
Yeah.
can't grow and like go into a prep like that.
Yeah.
So luckily he found this private facility on Vancouver or Quebec Island,
Yeah.
which he got access to. So that was like a lifesaver.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found like he's in a routine now with like how things work there, so it's a lot better. But yeah, it's definitely a sticky situation. And guys who work at camps too, like it's your lunch is prepared for you. You have a little buffet for supper.
Yeah. And I think it depends on your situation at the camp. I know talking to Leland, like it depends on how long you've been working there for. Cause like the guys who are in their first year, they're the guys with the shitty jobs. But like Leland's been there, he's got the experience, he's been there for years. And like his job is chill. Like he just supervises, sits back and eats his meals and doesn't have to do anything. So that's like a prime environment. You know what I mean?
Sets up against the air fryer in the hotel room.
Yeah, yeah,
Get all
exactly.
that
Right?
stinking up the place.
How do you find it's like with Andreas, how is like prepping him as a vegan client?
Not bad at all, man. Like
Yeah.
so he does it. He likes to weigh everything raw, so like in terms of like his rice. Because what he
Okay.
does is like in the morning he'll cook all of his rice for the day. So
Okay.
he wants it laid out like raw, so there's no leftovers.
Yeah.
Some pretty good, man. Like yeah, like he's doing tofu. He also eats, I think it's called Ives. Basically it's like a ground beef substitute. But like his look is no different. Like he looks good. Like he's getting leaner. He's 10 weeks, he'll be 9 weeks out this weekend. Looks peeled already. So like yeah, it's easier than I thought. I had
Yeah.
worked with a few vegan lifestyle clients. It's a
Yeah.
little bit of a story because they want like variety and like they want like pea protein recipes and all this stuff. But he's just like,
Yeah.
tell me what to eat, I'll cook it and I'll eat it. Like I don't want anything
Yeah.
just
Those
so
are the
easy.
best.
Oh, it makes my life so easy. And like it reflects in his look.
Yeah,
Like if
definitely.
you're wanting all this fancy stuff and like looking at how to change your meals by adding oils and all that stuff, like I don't know what you're eating. Like your calories could be 300, 400 above what I suggested because
Yeah.
you're doing your shit, right?
Yeah. No,
Everything is better.
I've also had a bunch of vegan clients. That's funny. Because like two that I've had for the longest both have now like switched over from
Yeah.
not vegan.
Yeah.
And one of them is because their doctor was like, okay, like you got to do something about this. Your iron is so low. Um, so he was like, I was like, I told you, like,
That was an issue I had with one of my lifestyle clients. So she was vegan and I told her to get blood work done because I wanted to see what everything was looking like.
yeah,
And yeah, sure enough, iron was tanked. And I was like, well, we're gonna have to you're gonna have to slam like 3 cups of spinach with every meal. Like
yeah,
really high in iron. It's really the only non-meat source of iron. So I was like, it's your only option. Either that or you're gonna have to go on iron tablets,
yeah,
which destroy your stomach. Like appetite's ruined.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I feel
Oh,
like too with these vegan clients, it's like all these meat substitutes they're using, they have got to be like so
oh,
shit for you.
ingredient lists are like that long.
Like that Beyond Meat stuff is so bad for you. Like
Sodium triphosphate, like
you're doing more damage to yourself by trying to save the animals than anything else. Like,
and not only to mention, like you might be saving a few cows, but like to plant your crop, they had to kill everything on that land to plant it there. Like all
yeah,
the insects, all the frogs, whatever's there, the mice, the
yeah,
grass, they all got demolished.
yeah, yeah. It really doesn't make any sense to me, but I
And
mean, to each their own. I'm sure everyone
to
has their
be
reason.
fair, like the thought of how like cows and chickens are slaughtered are kind of bad, but
Yeah, dude,
I
it's
guess
fun. It's funny.
don't
I'll
eat,
say,
don't worry about it.
yeah. So there's like we see like these transport trucks, and they're like they basically have all these slits in the side because they're full of pigs. and
Yeah.
his pigs being brought to the slaughterhouse. And
Wheeling.
when Alicia was in prep, she'd cry every time she saw one because she was like super emotional. And so Jared was telling me, Jared Morey, he was like sometimes like we drive into the gym and like I'd see one and he'd like change lanes, like go a little further away from it so she wouldn't see it. But yeah, I know it's funny. It's funny. I just like I don't really have any like I guess emotional ties to animals. Like pets, that's a different thing. Like dogs and stuff, but
I'm
like
sure if I went to a farm and I saw how it went down, I might be a little bit like, okay, that's kind of shitty.
cruel, yeah.
But like when a steak comes on a saran wrap tray, I'm just like, this is meal three, baby. Like, let's eat it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not really concerned on how it
Yeah,
got
you're
there.
not
I
thinking
really
about that
want
at
to
the
know.
time.
You
Yeah.
really want to know. All right.
Yeah.
Next question. What advice would you give to a trans guy who wants to compete in regards to PED use? Obviously, can't compete at a natural show, so I feel like I need to add in PEDs to have a chance.
Crank it up, baby.
Yeah, it's kind of like out of our ballpark, but a good guy to talk to about this would be Kyle Chafe. I think.
Absolutely. Kyle,
Yeah,
so Kyle just did like his first show at like the Newfoundland show, which was 2 weekends ago, or yeah. And absolutely crushed it.
yeah,
Look peeled. He's made insane progress. So yeah, Kyle's definitely the guy. I can put his like Instagram down in the
yeah.
bio. If you're watching this on YouTube. But actually, what's his Instagram?
I think it's just Kyle Chafe.
At Kyle Chafe.
Yeah, so for anybody who doesn't know, Kyle transitioned from a woman to a man. Crazy success so far. Peeled look, like crazy, crazy muscularity. He's a really short, like small statured guy,
Yeah.
but he pretty much cleaned the floor with everybody this weekend, I thought.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I did. And it's Kyle 15 Chafe. So if
Just
you're
the only thing to consider is like physiologically, in terms of like androgen receptors, like the biological female is going to have less. So like I know even talking to Kyle, like his doses are a lot lower than say somebody 260 pounds like us.
yeah,
So that like you can get away with using less stuff. But in terms of like how to go about it and like how that impacts you, that's kind of out of both of our ballpark, I would say. Yeah, I'm not even really sure how to go about it. But yeah, if in order to compete on a stage and be competitive, you would have to take something.
yeah, exactly. I think that's like pretty even across the board. Like
Yeah.
if you're going to compete in open bodybuilding and you want to be competitive, you're not going to be able to just stick with these TRT doses for, you know what I mean? Um,
It'd be the same thing as like me as a natural guy competing in an open show, except even at a more of a disadvantage, right? So it's like you have to consider who you're competing against, and but again, you can get away with using less if you bust your ass. Because I know Kyle trains hard. He's like dialed with his nutrition. Everything is perfect. So you just got to work really hard
yeah,
and
makes a huge difference.
slowly add tissue and see where you end up. That would be my best advice.
Yeah,
Well, that's
sweet.
it for my questions. Do you have any?
Let's see, the thing is with I have what were you saying? It's like automated questions turned on.
Yeah, the app.
Uh, so I just
Not
got
gonna lie, kind of gives you questions.
yeah, exactly. Um, hottest sport,
Hottest sport?
hottest sport.
I would say volleyball.
Yeah,
Played a lot of volleyball in my day.
yeah.
Most always fun
I'm
times.
sure you look hot playing volleyball, dude.
I did, but other people did.
Oh, there's a question here. The last song you listened to on Spotify, but my question is have you listened to the new Travis Scott album or the new Post Malone album?
I haven't listened to either. I
Both of
really suck at like listening to new music. I
yeah,
could find a song that I like from like 10 years ago and I'll just play it on repeat. Like I don't even listen to like new shit. I listen to whatever I find that I like.
yeah, but
Did you,
both.
did you listen to that shit I sent you yesterday?
No, I didn't because
Like I
it.
started getting back into like Colter Wall music, like that
Yeah, I
rustic,
listened to a lot of that, dude. Yeah,
especially training. Like this shit gets me fired up. So I found this
yeah,
playlist that was like called "The Devil Wears a Suit and Tie," and it was
yeah,
like all of those style of songs. And I just went down a rabbit hole, just like listening to those songs.
yeah, dude. And I think too, like I don't like being overstimulated in the gym, like by music. Because I know, especially if it's like a heavy day, like I'm doing legs or back or something, like my heart rate gets really high, and then I feel like I'm gonna throw up or something. So I like to kind of have like music that's mellow, but also like I don't know how to explain it. It
Monotone, but get you fired up.
it's yeah, exactly. Like you can almost like picture yourself listening to that music in like certain situations. So yeah, no, but that music is great for that.
And I also find like when I'm training, I find get a lot of like it gets me fired up with the lyrics. Like if the
Yeah,
lyrics are good, because like I don't know how people listen to like hard style or EDM while they train, because that shit is just like madness in your
I
head.
know.
Like I would be like just scanning the room like about to have a panic attack.
Yeah. Like how do you like it's like going crazy in your ears and then you're just
Yeah,
like some
trying to
curls.
trying to stay calm. Like especially squatting. Like even lately, when I squat, like I take out headphones. I
Yeah,
find just like listen to myself breathe and like not because like for some reason you have headphones in, it's just like you're just like panting like first rep, like you just
yeah,
can't seem to like get centered. So I've been finding that helpful lately.
yeah. Dude, and that's another cue too. It's like, like monitoring your breathing. And
Yeah,
like that'll help you like tune in more to your like exercise and your training, right?
your
And
ability
like
to brace.
exactly, like keep you focused on exactly what you're doing rather than like listening to lyrics or beats and then like you hear some lyrics and you start thinking about the lyrics and then it's
Yeah.
just like your mind is
Yeah.
just going all over the place, right? So I think that makes a huge difference. But
Any more questions from you?
what's that?
Any more questions?
Let's see. I'll just super basic. Someone asked, "Do you think Michael Jackson is still alive?"
I don't think so. How old would he be not by now?
So that
Like
was
eight.
like, do you remember when Kanye West like disappeared for a while? Like he just went off the grid. I I don't know. I think people who are like super famous and rich, like I'm sure there's a conspiracy about this, but like I feel like he was just so famous and like in the spotlight all the time. Like he had all these accusations. There's a possibility that he like faked his death just to get out of there. And like he could be
Yeah.
living his life
Yeah.
elsewhere, just like living a very quiet, nice life. Um, so yeah, I mean, I feel like I feel like rich people do that sometimes,
I like
but
the same thing with Jamie Foxx. You see that thing? He had like a heart attack or whatever, and
yeah.
then they released like a picture of him like now, and it looks like completely different.
Oh, and it's a clone now.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. But like,
Yeah.
I feel like yeah, like if you think about in your own life, like imagine if you were like an artist and you had to tour like every weekend, like coke, drinking, like just getting obliterated every weekend. Through the weekday, you have obligations with contracts, meet and greets, all that sort of shit, and you do that for 30 years straight. You're gonna be pretty. I'd be fried by the first week. Like I'd be done.
Literally,
I
dude.
want a week
I can't
off.
do this again. Yeah.
Yeah, like and they had to do tour after tour after tour.
Yeah. So I mean it definitely does. Yeah.
That's like people ask like, would you want to be like super famous, like president level? I'm like, not in a million years,
No,
man.
dude.
I
No, no
want to like
way.
make money, but like hide in a little corner, like do my own thing.
Yeah.
I don't
But
want
it's
to be
like you look at Sebum now and he is so mainstream, like he can't just go train in any gym.
oh,
Like
right.
he literally he can't I don't even know if he can train at like the Revive gym. Like he has his own gym that like he trains at to like get away from people because like can you imagine being in prep and having like 10, 15 people come up to you in a workout? I
And
would
want
be
to
losing.
talk, like have like intellectual talk, and you can't even remember your name. Like you're just like,
Yeah. Yeah. And like, yeah, I mean he and like you can't like when you're that famous, you can't like snap at people.
oh,
Like
like they're gonna record you and be like, fucking Chris, like,
yeah, exactly. So
yeah, or
I mean you gotta yeah, I mean he's set
not
himself up
even
like a great
he's not
environment.
even that famous. Like we're talking like Justin Bieber fame. Like he can't even
Yeah.
believe his imagine people posted up outside your house with cameras all the time, just waiting to go
Yeah.
looking to snap pictures of you.
Yeah. That'd be annoying. Really annoying.
Bro, you couldn't even take a girl to supper. Like you had to find go in the back door of this private place.
Yeah. And that too, like it's like I like you look at like Drake and he's like talked about this recently. It's just like finding like a girlfriend or like a significant other who like when you're at a certain level and you have so much money, it's just like it's hard to be able to like trust whether people or even just your friends if they just want to be your friend because they like you or they just want to be they want to live your lifestyle and like have the perks of like your money, your fame, and all this stuff. So I feel like it's like half a nightmare when you get to a certain level.
I feel like those guys keep their circles so close
Yeah.
From experience though, right? Like probably to start, they were getting girls, coming on trips, and then they realize like all these girls want is what I have to offer. Like there's no reciprocation there. I'm not getting anything out of this. Like
Yeah.
hot tagging along and I'm spending 20 grand on them or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like I seen Lex Friedman had a podcast the other day with Matthew McConaughey, and they asked him like, "How do you know when to trust somebody?" He's like, "Man, like even still to this day, like people are snakes. I have no idea. Like I'm a
Yeah.
well person, so I'm like, but I never let anybody get in my like." He said, "There's like you think about his circle as like a radius, like different levels." He's like, you start on the very outside level, and you might move in a level,
Yeah.
but it comes with tests, and then like there's maybe
Exactly.
5 people in my like real core. Everybody
Dude,
else is just individuals.
and like I find that too. Like I'll do that with
Yeah,
like
yeah,
people that are in my life. Like, occasionally like you'll like if you meet someone new and you're like, okay, this person's cool, this person's chill, but like in order to become like closer with them, you kind of have to like test them.
yeah,
I mean, so yeah, I mean, I think that goes for kind of everyone. Like,
yeah. Because like even people like as normal as us, like there's something to gain from us. So like, right, you have to be careful and like in any successful relationship, there's always give and take, right? Like
yeah,
it should never be one way. Because if it
no,
is, like it's things are the balance is tipped towards the other way, right?
yeah, and that only like how long is that going to work? How long is that going to last?
Just leads to resentment, right? Because like you only want to hang out with me when we're going on trips or like when you're getting something out of it, not right,
Yeah,
not when we're just chilling and hanging out.
yeah,
So
100%.
I was never a guy who had lots of friends, anyways, man. Like you would call them friends, but like they
Okay.
would be acquaintances, like people you talk to, you knew. But in terms of like a core group, it was always, the same people. It was
Yeah, and
never.
I think that's kind of something like you're from a smaller town, but like where I lived in town, and like I had a lot of friends in high school,
Like,
but
how many
like
people in your graduating class, for example?
that's a good question. There was like 1,000 people in my high school.
Dude, I had 23 people in my graduating class. There wasn't even 1,000 people in my whole school, and it was K to 12.
Yeah, there's probably like 300 people in my graduating class, I'd say. So, but like
Like,
yeah, so like I had lots of friends in high school, but like I'm not friends with like any of them anymore. It's
yeah.
like as I think as the years go on, you like obviously you outgrow people, and you just find people that like suit your lifestyle and like your interests much better. Like all the friends that I have now, I've met through bodybuilding pretty much.
Well, you look at the common denominators back then, it was either sports or drinking, right?
Yeah, and that
So
was
you
the
met,
thing. Like when I was in high school, dude, I remember like be like I would go to like all the parties and I was friends with like the popular kids. But in like grade 12, I was playing like junior hockey and we'd always play on Saturday nights. And like
yeah.
I couldn't go to those parties every Saturday night anymore. And so like these people like started to like distance like from me. And so it's just because I couldn't do what they were doing and like, hang out with the popular kids that like it was just like, so it's like an eye opener, right?
And those people just stop asking after a while, right? Like they might
Exactly.
ask four weekends in a row, and then when
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I'm doing something. For me, I was playing sports, but especially when I went to university,
Yeah.
all the people who came to St. John's with me they just wanted to go DT every weekend.
Yeah.
I was in prep my first year, so I was like, and don't even care to drink. So I'm like, I'm not gonna have fun, like, and that's why the only real friends I kept in university were the guys who I worked out with
Yeah.
because we seen each other on a daily basis. We were training together, eating together, and it was like, yeah, I just had no interest. And those people just, if you have no common denominator, then what are you gonna talk about? You're gonna sit down and not in silence forever? You know what I mean?
Exactly, dude. Exactly. So like, yeah. And I'm sure like you're obviously the same. Like everyone that you're friends with now,
Right
it's like
now, yeah.
a good circle of people who live the same lifestyle. And I think especially bodybuilding, it's such like it takes so much like sacrifice that like when you're bodybuilding, you can't have much else in your life. Like
No,
you
there's
really
no time for it.
no,
And like
no.
even like having conversations with people, like I have no time for bullshit. Like if you tell me your bullshit story about going out and drinking, like I don't care, man. Like
Yeah. Yeah, I
doesn't
know,
matter to
dude.
me, right? And then you find like that also pushes people away, and then your circle just gets smaller and smaller and smaller until you just have like a core group of guys and girls who are just all live the same lifestyle, right?
Yeah, it's funny like the odd time that I will go out and like go to a bar or like obviously like I'll see all my older friends and it's like funny having a conversation with them because I have
Oh, weird, right?
nothing in common.
Yeah, it's
And
so weird.
like, you can start talking about bodybuilding, and you can just see you're just losing them. It's
Yeah.
just, you
Like you
know,
always work back to like some high school memories or something, like just to try to like make
exactly.
some connection there.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
dude, you're and like you think about the person you were in high school versus the person you are now. Like I haven't been home and seen any of my friends, like the old people I graduated with, for 4 or 5 years. Like if I were to go back now, they would be like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" Like
yeah. Dude,
you're
you're
just
gonna
not the
go
same
to your
person,
high
right?
school reunion, and you're just gonna
Yeah,
a house.
yeah. I can't wait. I cannot wait. Like
That'd
30
be
years
so
old, fucking tank going to this
dude,
thing. Like,
yeah, you're gonna look like those like the '90s where they'd all wear their suit and tie. They're
yeah, the
like,
boxy
yeah,
suits. Yeah,
yes, dude.
none of
You're
it's
gonna,
tailored. It's just like
yeah,
King
you're
James
gonna look
bitch.
like Marcus and Ronnie rolling through with the huge suits. That would be so funny. Anyways, that's probably good here for this week.
Yeah, dude. I think there's been. I don't
Um,
know. Do you have the timer there? I don't
I don't
have
know.
one.
I have no idea how long it's been. It's definitely been a hot minute. But yeah.
It's
So
good.
that'll be it for this episode, guys. But thanks for listening. We made it to the end. I feel like we had some good chats on this week. Again, if you guys have any questions at all, we'll put up a little Q&A box the day before.
Yeah, we'll do it a little earlier next time, like
We'll do it.
Saturday.
Maybe we'll yeah, we'll do it the day before or 2 days before. And put up a couple question boxes so we get a few more questions. So yeah, get your questions in if you guys have any, training, nutrition, or just random questions. We're game for whatever. We'll talk about whatever, especially conspiracy theories and stuff like that. Uh,
Go off on a tangent.
yeah, me and Jerry will get baked and come. We'll have a
Maybe
conspiracy theory
smoke some
episode.
joints beforehand.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was gonna smoke before I came on here, but I was like, oh, this is
It
kind of
can't. Yeah,
intellectual talk.
it has to be. It has to be like a certain topic.
Yeah,
Uh, like I remember we recorded a podcast like a while ago at my house in person,
yeah,
and we like smoked beforehand, and the conversation went nowhere, dude.
yeah.
We kept
Just so
forgetting what we were talking about, and so if we do that,
absurd.
we're gonna have like a list to keep ourselves on track.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, that'll be it for this week, guys. We will see you next weekend. And yeah, peace out.